Hey everyone, it's Robert Hall, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Godox R1200 Ring Flash. Now the first thing you need to know about the R1200 Ring Flash is that this is not a standalone ring flash like Godox's previous ring flash, which was not part of the X series. This R1200 uses the AD1200 Pro's battery to power the head. So if you're ordering the R1200, which is about $450, you are only ordering the flash head, you are not ordering the power source. So in the kit, you get the flash head, which includes the flash tube and the ring assembly. Then you have a little reflector that goes around that. I'll call that the standard reflector. It comes with a bracket for attaching your camera. Then there's an umbrella mount if you want to put an umbrella through the center of the ring flash, and a larger silver reflector that is more like a beauty dish, and it replaces the standard reflector that attaches to it. Now there are some optional accessories as well, including 3 grids of various degrees so that you get different levels of narrowing light. And finally, there's a white reflector that is available for this as well. Let's go over a few tech specs when it comes to power and flash durations. At 5 feet in its standard reflector, the AD1200 Pro, this is the normal flash head for it, will yield a result of f22 and 6/10 of a stop of output. The R1200 Ring Flash instead, with its standard reflector, will yield at the same distance an f16 and 8/10 of a stop, which is about 8/10 of a stop lower than the normal AD1200 Pro head. If you instead use the silver reflector, you will get an f22 and 4/10 of a stop at 5 feet. This is only 2/10 of a stop lower than the AD1200 Pro's normal head. So with the silver reflector, you're pretty much getting the same exact output, at least when used at the same distance. And with the standard dish, you are giving up almost a full stop of light, placing it more in the power output level of an AD600 Pro. Now, flash durations, on the other hand, are largely unchanged. I tested this using my Sekonic L858DU light meter. At full power, both heads had a T.1 flash duration of 1/185, and at their minimum power, 1/256, both of these flashes had a T.1 flash duration of 1/8390. So for all purposes, you could just look at the flash durations as being identical regardless of the head that you use. Okay, so let's talk about common applications of a ring flash, because it is a rather unique lighting tool, and it's not something that I think every photographer or even 5% of flash photographers need to have. The primary use of it would be for on-axis fill. And what I mean by that is that it's directly wrapped around your lens, and it is used as a fill flash to fill in shadows. The reason that it's so common for using as fill flash is because it is impossible for it to create any shadows itself.
I want to make sure that this is expressed visually as well. So here's the setup that I did in studio. We've got a key light as the large softbox, and then the ring flash is wrapped around my lens. Here's a little first person perspective. Now here are resulting images. On the left, we've got a fill flash only. So this is only the R1200. In the middle, we've got the key light only. That's only the softbox that was on the right. And on the far right, we've got all the lights, including a background light and a hair light. On its own, you can see that the fill flash is quite underexposed, but when combined with the key light, we not only lift the shadows, but we also create a brighter subject overall.
Second, you can use the ring flash as a key light if you want to create basically shadowless portraits, or get that on-camera flash look, but with even less shadows, because again, this will not create any downward shadows like a flash directly on top of your camera would. This really isn't too popular these days, so I'm not sure I see a lot of people implementing this, but it's an option. Maybe if you want to be like Terry Richardson. No one wants to be like Terry Richardson. Additionally, ring flashes are popular for macro work, because you can assume if you are getting super close to your subject with a macro lens, then it is really tough to get any off-camera lighting involved. And lastly, this does have an umbrella mount on it, so you could technically use this as an off-camera light source as well. You can hook the umbrella mount to the camera bracket and then slide an umbrella right through the center. You can perfectly center it, and then you've got a light that you can use off camera. And because the umbrella becomes your light source, it's now going to take on the properties of the umbrella, and it's going to be a soft light. And since it's on off camera, now it's going to make shadows like any other off camera lighting would. All right, so let's talk about some finer points. First off, when I first opened this, I was fighting with it like crazy because of this switch right here. This switch looks like you would just slide it to the right and this reflector comes off, but it doesn't. You have to push it to the right and press down, and then you release the dish. And that's how you can switch between this and the other optional silver or white reflectors. Now there's two lips on either side of the device. One is right by the push switch, the other is opposite it. You put it over the one fixed lip and then you just press on the other and it'll click into place. Second, my manual did not come with a clear way on how to assemble the camera bracket, and I kind of just had to piece it together by looking at the pictures. So here is the fashion on the back in which you have to install it. Now the whole point of this, and once assembled correctly, is that you have various axes to control your camera. You can slide your camera further or closer into the ring flash. You can bring it higher or lower depending on how the lens aligns, and you can move your camera left or right to make sure that your lens is centered in here. Now on Instagram, I posted if there were any questions about this, and the one primary question was, how big of a lens can you get in here? This opening is 107 millimeters or 4¼ inches. So this is my 135 millimeter lens. Still plenty of room around there. Fits the 70 to 200, fits my 100 to 400. I think out of all the lenses I have, the one lens that might not fit in here would be my 105 millimeter. It's the Sigma Bokeh Master. The front optic is 105 millimeters on that one. So that one might either be tight or not fit at all. The build quality on everything is nice. I find that once you have this assembled and you have everything tightened down, everything is firmly in place. There's not a lot of wiggle or twisting or anything like that, even once you have your camera attached here. So that's really nice. This itself feels very dense and well built. The one thing I will say is this is a 1200 watt flash tube in here, and the idea of pulling these off and putting things back on is really dangerous with a 1200 watt flash tube, because whatever you do not touch this bulb that I am so close to touching. Because if you get any oil on that bulb, this is going to generate a lot of heat the next time you fire it, and it's likely going to explode because of those oils that you got on the bulb. So when you are putting this on, make sure to take great care not to touch the bulb. Which with this piece specifically is difficult because there's an opening right there. So you got to be careful to kind of touch it from the outside so that you're not touching that bulb. The modeling lamp, just like the AD1200 Pro, is 40 watts. It is not exactly daylight. It is more in the 4300 range with some color variance, about plus or minus 200 Kelvin. So not going to be really applicable as a daylight LED, but it does give you modeling properties, so you can see how your catchlights look in somebody's eyes. I don't think that there's a ton of utility in a modeling lamp on a fill flash, because if you've got this thing wrapped around your lens, then you know it's not creating any shadows. So there's really no modeling properties of it. But I guess if you choose to use the ring flash off camera, then you do still have access to a modeling function. The total weight of the head and the cable is about 4 pounds. So when you're putting your camera on it and then hand holding that camera and shooting with it, it does put a lot of extra weight onto your setup. I know I was using this for a few hours, and every chance that I could get, I was taking a break and I was setting it down. Whereas oftentimes I'll just hold my camera while I'm waiting for a setup to change or a pose to change or a model to change. So who is this for? I think this is going to be for the people who are focused on studio work, who are already using on-axis fill in some capacity. If on-axis fill has never been a concern of yours, you probably don't need a ring flash. But if it's something that you've been implementing into your work, then this is the best version of it for the Godox X series. Now, when it comes to their decision to make this an R1200 extension as opposed to just making a standalone product, I'm not sure that that was the best decision. I've seen a ton of people ask ever since the original 8600 came out, when are we gonna see a update to the last ring flash, which I believe was a 360 watt ring flash. I think just refreshing that as the X series may have been appropriate and may have hit a wider audience, because not everybody has or wants the Godox AD1200 Pro. And there are definitely people who want a ring flash, but don't want an AD1200 Pro because it's their most expensive light, and it really is only for power users. So I do think a standalone ring flash that was a flash unit itself, more in the 300, 400 watt range, may have been a smarter move. But if you're in the studio and you're already using an AD1200, then this becomes a rather affordable addition to your light to have access to this type of ring flash. Let me know what you guys think about that. Would you have rather have seen a standalone design, or do you think that this, where it's an extension of the AD1200 Pro, was the smart move? All right guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, leave any questions in the comments below, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. Till next time, keep on shooting.